This Dicebreaker video is sponsored by Wild Bills. Ditch the manufactured flavors. Your taste buds deserve better. Treat yourself to Wild Bill's premium handcrafted soda pop. Mouth-watering beverages that allow you to escape to the most interesting places imaginable. Cheers to refusing the drink from the mainstream. Cheers to kick-ass canned. Cheers to being veteran-owned and operated. At Wild Bill's, flavor isn't everything. It's the only thing. Use discount code CHEERS15 for 15% off your first order.
Of all the ever-expanding list of D&D races, I would wager that none of them is more versatile and intriguing than the Tiefling. That's right. I'm sneaking a whole D&D lore video onto the channel. It was all a long con. I don't care about boards, decks, meeples, or youples. All I care about is D&D. During this video, I'm going to aim to enlighten you on the lore and legend behind the Tiefling race, and hopefully help you decide exactly which Tiefling you should play. If you want to get straight down to mechanics, you can use the chapter select option to skip straight to Tiefling subraces. If you want a little more background on the D&D race, sit back, relax, and we'll dive in. As you might expect, these horned and pointy-tailed humanoids rarely go unnoticed in the Forgotten Realms. The sad truth of it all is that Tieflings are, more often than not, ostracized from society. This othering can also manifest itself within the Tiefling race in a number of ways, either breaking them, burdening them, delighting them, or being a force to fight against. In an excerpt from Brimstone Angels, a fantasy novel by Erin M. Evans, based on Dungeons & Dragons as a whole, we get a closer look on how Tieflings can be treated by their peers. In case you haven't taken a look at the Brimstone Angels series, it is a series of novels set in the Forgotten Realms universe. This series follows the story of Farida, a Tiefling raised by a Dragonborn, along with her twin sister, Havilah. Farida accidentally enters into a warlock pact with the Cambion Lorcan, and though she is conscious of the danger this pact poses, she finds herself tempted by its power as well. Havilah, on the other hand, is described as an innocent soul with a penchant for trouble. She is a chaotic good fighter and feels none of the weight on her shoulders that Farida does, believing them to be cursed by their infernal bloodline. Right from the off, we see a distinction between the two. One sister believing in the good in them both, and the other resenting who they are. The following excerpt is from Brimstone Angels, a scene in which Farida is confronted by the Cambion Lorcan for the first time, and his devilish manipulation begins to take hold. But you do see the way people look at you, Devil's Child. Those black eyes, cold as a winter storm, were staring right into her heart, and the sudden seriousness in his voice jolted her. "What is it they say?" he asked. "One's a curiosity, two's a conspiracy, three's a curse," she finished. "You think I haven't heard that rubbish before?" "I know you have." Once she glared at him, he added, "It's not as if I'm plumbing the depths of your mind, dear girl. That is the burden of every Tiefling. Some break under it, some make it the millstone around their neck, and some revel in it." He tilted his head again, scrutinizing her, with that wicked glint in his eyes. "You fight it, don't you? Like a little wildcat, I wager. Every little jab and comment just sharpens your claws." And although Lorcan here is twisting the knife a little, and preying on Farida's internal anguish, his comments are certainly revealing. Tieflings aren't treated in the same way as other humanoids. They receive stares and hear whispers of derision being thrown at them in the street. But what is it that sets others on edge? Where did this Tiefling smear campaign come from? It is likely to do with the fact that a Tiefling's lineage is marred by a pact struck generations ago. A pact that a lot of Tieflings want nothing to do with. Listen, you're probably going to find it hard to make friends if everyone thinks the essence of Asmodeus is going to manifest in you at any moment. And that is what we call a damaging stereotype, folks. Regardless of narrow-mindedness, this is the burden that Tieflings must now bear. A lot of Tieflings often find themselves adrift, as their line doesn't have anywhere to call home, unless you count the 9 hells. They are often suspicious of others and find it hard to trust. However, once their companions earn their trust, they earn a friend and ally for life. My friend Bo pointed out that tieflings weren't always tieflings in previous editions of Dungeons & Dragons. If you surround yourself with several lore keepers, then you become the ultimate lore keeper. Tieflings were known as outsiders, along with other creatures such as Ganassi, water, air, fire and earth, shade, gore, basically any creature that doesn't come from the prime material plane. Before we delve deeper into the mechanical benefits of each tiefling subrace, it might help you to know a little bit more about some tieflings of note, both in Forgotten Realms lore and beyond. To begin with, we're going to start with someone who is close to my heart. If you're thinking about playing or running Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden, but aren't sure if it's the right campaign for you, I would say that you should absolutely play it right now. Because I am, and it's fantastic. If that convinced you, somehow, I might suggest that you skip to the timestamped section of the video you should see on your screen now, because Icewind Dale loves a tiefling. Now, on to Avarice. Something that is quite cool about Icewind Dale is that if you so choose, and if your party is interested, you can pick from a list of secrets that help with character creation and development. What a fun system! For example, a group of bearded devils are chasing down our bard. Our barbarian is a pirate who seems scarred by his last voyage, and our paladin has an ex they bump into in the Dales. I'm the paladin who has an ex they bump into in the Dales. And guess who we bump into in the belly of a den of cultists? The den of cultists probably should have been my first clue. Stupid sexy Avarice. This is the part of the script where I actually take a look at Avarice's character. Oh god! Alright, so at the time the party starts off in the Icewind Dale adventure, Avarice has been a member of the Arcane Brotherhood for 2 years. The Arcane Brotherhood being exactly what it sounds like, a group of wizards who think that they're better than everyone else. This seems like an odd choice for Avarice, as she is deeply threatened by every other wizard she meets. She chases fame and renown and hopes to achieve it as quickly as possible by discovering and plundering the lost city of Ithrin, a netherese city heretofore lost to the ages. Eventually it will come about that Avarice has a rather dark secret that she has been keeping to herself. That she kept from me. She has the support of Archdevil Levistus on her side, and God and anime. It turns out that she traded her soul to Levistus years ago in exchange for her powerful magics. Levistus now speaks to her in her dreams and guides her along this ruthless path to get what she wants. For example, Levistus told her to seek out the Black Sword upon her arrival in 10 Towns, which is where Icewind Dale is set. This is referring to cultists of Levistus, whom she doesn't exactly trust, but who treat her with more respect than she would likely gain elsewhere in the region. As you may be able to tell, Avarice is your typical power-hungry, jaded and cruel tiefling archetype, complete with cultists, gargoyles, and ravens running around doing her bidding. I guess I will update this script after my party confront her in the now found city of Ithrin. It was not good. It was awkward. It was awkward. She's not going to stop. She's going to try and kill us. We have to fight her. We're going to fight her. Along with Avarice in the world of Icewind Dale, we also have characters like Kadroth, who, to me at least, is significantly less exciting. Kadroth has set up his own role within the cult of Levistus. Why are the tieflings gonna be in cults, Wotok? Though he has made a cushy little position for himself, he daren't ruffle any feathers with the cult's higher-ups, like the soothsayer, Hethel Arcorin, or Avarice herself. This is for fear of them knocking him down a few pegs if he steps out of line. With this being the case, he keeps to himself and spends hours behind his desk, wishing not to be disturbed while he plans the cult's next move. You may think that Kadroth doesn't seem too bad for a source material tiefling. Well, you would be wrong. He has captured Caer-Dineval's leader, Speaker Cranach Siva, only to maintain the illusion that he is still in charge while Kadroth lives and works in the Speaker's home, a castle known as the Caer. It goes without saying, but spoilers for Critical Role's second campaign. Alright, it's time to get into those sweet player characters, and I think sweet is the perfect word to describe this hero of Wildemount, Jester Lavorre. Critical Role's second campaign has just ended at the time of this video, and with it, so has the story of this little blue tiefling who wears a cute dress and uses a giant spectral lollipop to shed the blood of her enemies! If it wasn't clear, I love this pointy blue ball of mischief. Jester Lavorre is the looks like a cinnamon bun but could definitely kill you member of the Mighty Nine. Played and created by Laura Bailey, Jester Lavorre is a cleric of the Traveller, though she isn't exactly forthcoming when it comes to healing, preferring to inflict wounds rather than heal them. Being a trickster cleric, she joined the Mighty Nine after having fled her home, the coast town of Nicodranas, after having shoved one of the town heavies out on a balcony buck naked. How was this achieved? I hear you ask? Why, trickery, of course. It also helps that her mother is the Ruby of the Sea, aka the best lay ever. To avoid hot water, she joined up with the adventuring party and began to make a name for herself by slaying gnolls, spreading the good word of the Traveller, and a bunch of other stuff I can't mention because of spoilers. A few more technical tiefling focus facts about Jester include the choosing of her virtue name. According to the Critical Role wiki, Jester chose her virtue name herself. We will talk a little more about virtue names later on in the video. But she chose Jester because she wants to be happy and make others happy. Aww. And people believe tieflings are soulless killing machines, devoid of all emotion and willing to crush anyone in their way on their quest for power and the world's damnation. Well, as we'll see with this next tiefling, sometimes you get the best of both worlds. You get the best. Mollymauk Tealeaf. How do I even begin to describe Mollymauk Tealeaf? Mollymauk, or Molly, joins the Mighty Nine at the beginning of their journey, while advertising the circus that he and Yasha Nydoran are performing in. Molly, played and created by Taliesin Jaffe, seems to encompass the tiefling who plays up to the negative perception of their kind. He's deceptive, impulsive, and roguish, displaying such qualities in an impishly charming way. He also seems to encourage others to embrace this side of themselves, and enjoy life in the most free-spirited way possible. And this attitude has a lasting effect on people. He has such a lasting effect that people from his past lives remember him fondly. For example, Cree the Tabaxi Blood Cleric, rushing up to meet him after apparently not having seen him for 2 years, since he died. Now, I have spoken about the difference between player character tieflings and NPC tieflings before, but I think that this disparity is even more prevalent here than anywhere else. As mentioned, we've got some Critical Role Campaign 2 spoilers coming your way. Super huge spoilers! But don't forget that you can use the chapters below to skip to whatever section of the video you're looking for. Mollymauk Tealeaf was actually killed early into Campaign 2 by Lorenzo, the leader of the Iron Shepherds. I was refamiliarizing myself with how he died, and the first excerpt I found read, Mollymauk was killed after he knocked himself unconscious using his own blood maledictability that he was trying to use on Lorenzo, leader of the Iron Shepherds. Way to kick a tiefling while he's down. Why is it so funny? Poor Molly. Now that Molly was gone, that left room for someone else to come back. I previously mentioned that Cree hadn't seen Molly for 2 years, but the Molly that she knew was Lucian. But the Molly that we knew didn't know her. But Lucian had died during a blood ritual, manifesting Molly. So when Molly died during the fight, Lucian found his way back into Molly's body again. Lucian's body? Do you see what I'm saying? Regardless, Lucian returned, wearing a Mollymauk bodysuit. When his return was revealed, Lucian became an NPC, run by Matt Mercer, Critical Role's GM, and an altogether lovely fellow. While running Lucian's character, the tiefling exhibited manipulative tendencies, an unbridled thirst for power, and the cold demeanor that would allow him to dispatch both friend and foe with what seemed relative ease. When fulfilling the purpose of an NPC, he is what can only be described as Campaign 2's big bad. Is this an example of the kind of bias Wizards of the Coast and even some Dungeon Masters experience when creating tieflings? They hold the blood of Asmodeus in their veins, and therefore they must fulfill that purpose in the eyes of those who still hold old-school D&D at their core. If we are to take Critical Role's second campaign as an example, player characters are able to control the world around them in their own way. By selecting the Tiefling and deviating from their perceived norm, the world you're playing in must contort around them to fit. Whether you're kookier and sweeter than your average Tiefling, or your love of your friends and the life you lead only being silenced by death itself. A quick mechanical note on Molly before we move on. The Critical Role wiki states that Molly is a variant feral Tiefling, due to his use of the abilities that are laid out with the Devil's Tongue racial trait. No, I'm not saying my Tiefling is a Tiefling of note, but bear with me on this. I just feel it illustrates the PC versus NPC point even more. My Tiefling Paladin of the Sun God Lathander is the one who used to date Avarice. The juxtaposition between the two could not be more obvious. A worshipper of the sun, a worshipper of ice. Powers of divine radiance, powers that thrive in Icewind Dale's rhyme. One who protects others, one who only cares about protecting themselves. I am not bitter. Logan also started off the campaign by hiding her true appearance, using a ring of alter self. This was because her adoptive human parents saw how frequently she was getting bullied, and how she longed to just fit in with her family and become a paladin. The decision was made to provide her with this ring made especially for her, so that she could avoid the scrutiny that was plaguing her. She doesn't seek any kind of vengeance. If anything, this drives her to be the best person she can be. As we draw to the end of the campaign, she is learning that she can do that in whatever form she chooses, and that no matter what, she has the support of her god and her team as she journeys forward. Once again, the reason I bring this up is to acknowledge that this deviation from the Tiefling archetype is a powerful tool of exploration, and you shouldn't be afraid to push the boundaries when it comes to character creation. Create what excites you. All right, we have made it to the technical stuff, and I'm sure a lot of you are raring to go. Let's get down to it. Tieflings, feral Tieflings, variant feral Tieflings, oh my! This might seem a little daunting, but don't worry, we've got you covered. Tieflings in 5e are the initial iteration of Tieflings. They get +2 to their charisma stat, and along with that, they get dark vision up to 60 feet, hellish resistance, and their infernal legacy. Dark vision is what it sounds like. You get to see in non-magical darkness, whereas those without dark vision would hardly see anything. This usually manifests in disadvantage on perception checks during the night or in dark places. Hellish resistance gives your Tiefling resistance to fire damage, so when you are damaged by fire, you only take half of that damage. As well as all of that, you can read, speak, and write common as well as infernal. The infernal legacy of each Tiefling depends on which subrace you choose, but the base Tiefling build gives you access to the Thaumaturgy cantrip at 1st level, Hellish Rebuke cast at 2nd level when you reach 3rd level, and the Darkness spell once a day when you reach 5th level. Have a nose through and see which of these infernal legacy options excites you. Do you want to be able to turn invisible once a day? There's a Tiefling for that. Do you want to be able to safeguard your party's swagger bag of holding with Arcane Lock? There's a Tiefling for that. Do you want to be able to detect thoughts and get the inside scoop? There's a Tiefling for that too. The only real difference between base Tiefling subraces is the additional stat bonus you get from them. You will always benefit from that sweet +2 charisma bonus, but each different subrace will also offer you a +1 in another stat. Then again, if you go with a feral Tiefling, that stat bonus changes to a +1 to intelligence and +2 to dexterity. Depending on the Tiefling you choose, you can get a lovely little boost to a stat that you might need. For example, my Tiefling Paladin. Once again, I know, bear with me. Paladins need strength for attacking and charisma for spellcasting. So, if you put 14 points into her charisma score and 15 points into her strength score, when we pop her Zariel Tiefling racial stats of +2 charisma and +1 strength on top, then you have 16 points in both charisma and strength. I know, D&D is secretly maths. It's rough. If you're wondering which class may go well with a Tiefling, having a character that casts spells with charisma is a good shout, especially if you're hoping to be the face of the party. So consider playing a bard, warlock, sorcerer, or paladin. However, that boost in intelligence and dexterity that comes with a feral Tiefling just screams rogue. Also, I'm just saying that a rogue with wings is delicious. Potentially game-breaking, but delicious. What we just said is perhaps more of a guide to an optimized build, but as we've said before, going against the grain is only going to make your story more interesting. If you want to play a Tiefling druid whose virtue name is something like Dusk or Willow, you're not going to hear any complaints from me. Oh, that reminds me, we did say we would talk about virtue names. Well, they're the name that a certain Tiefling goes by, obviously, but they often tend to name themselves. This name that is chosen sums up exactly what that tiefling is about, and Jester Lavorre is a perfect example. She wants to be happy and make others happy, and that is something that she most certainly achieved throughout the course of the second campaign. If you've made a tiefling and you can't wait to hear their story, that's a damned good start. Damned. It's like hell. Thank you so much, because you have apparently made it to the end of Dicebreaker's very first essay video thing. This was long, and I adore you for hanging out with us. This is the first of what I hope will be many essay videos here on Dicebreaker, so if you want more, please let us know by subscribing, liking the video, and hitting the notification bell to know when we post a video or go live. You know, it would be amazing if the channel got to 100k subscribers before the end of the year, and it would make me look extremely good because I'm new to the channel. Teehee. So please share this with that friend who's been threatening to play a tiefling for ages but simply doesn't know where to start. If you're looking for coverage on the latest D&D, TTRPGs, board games, card games, and even more, this is the channel for you. Check out all of that good stuff on Dicebreaker.com too, where our fantastic editorial team work so hard in the word mines to bring you up-to-the-minute news in tabletop gaming. You can also grab some glorious merch on Dicebreaker.myshopify.com too. Now, that's enough out of me. Thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely day. Bye!
This Dicebreaker video is sponsored by Wild Bills. Ditch the manufactured flavors. Your taste buds deserve better. Treat yourself to Wild Bill's premium handcrafted soda pop. Mouth-watering beverages that allow you to escape to the most interesting places imaginable. Cheers to refusing the drink from the mainstream. Cheers to kick-ass canned. Cheers to being veteran-owned and operated. At Wild Bill's, flavor isn't everything. It's the only thing. Use discount code CHEERS15 for 15% off your first order.